My guest today is Aishwarya Rai.
With very good assignments, a lot of change. I was just a student the night before, and suddenly next day there I was representing my people internationally. It was iconic, legendary. When it comes to food, I love food. I'm comfortable with my foods. I've never dieted, never.
And now,
maybe I could become an actress or a model.
My story is a little different because actually I never did quite think I'd belong to showbiz. No one in my immediate family or even extended family has ever belonged to showbiz. So we're actually more academically oriented. So it was always about completing education, getting a degree, going to professional school.
Oh, yeah.
The dream was medicine, to actually become a doctor. Right. And then along the journey, because I've always been, I was a science student, but also inclined towards the arts. I decided to discover architecture, which to me was a blend of the science and the arts. And so I enrolled into architecture school. But just prior to enrolling, while I was in junior college, there was a professor of mine who, bless her soul today, she isn't with us anymore. She requested I do this one fashion feature for her, and I just did it for her. Looking for a job or having an agent or an agency, I was just a student doing this one feature for a professor. These questions make me very uncomfortable because it's, I probably still do not know how to respond to compliments about the exterior.
Yeah.
So I just say a modest thank you, but I'm not quite sure I've sat and logged it and made a note of it that I was called beautiful. No, not really. People have been generous in my lifetime, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
Girls that we've had up to date have been proof enough that they have had compassion for the underprivileged, not only the people who have status and stature, who can look beyond the barriers that man has set up for ourselves of nationality, color. We have to look beyond that, and that will make a true Miss World, a true person, a real person. Thank you.
Very well spoken, Miss India.
And Miss World 1994 is Miss India.
Yes, and I have to tell you why I laughed just now. Because on the night before of the actual event, we'd have a little rehearsal for all the participants, all the contestants, to get an idea as to, if you did plays, where you'd be standing on stage, because it's a televised event as well. So we'd all be spoofing the response every time a winner's announced. Yeah, we were taking the mickey. I mean, we were all making fun ourselves that every time there's a contestant who's announced, the girls go, and I was like, my hands, I did the same thing. There, they announced me as the winner, and there I went doing, but it's really not practiced. It's just something that happens at the time because that your country is announced. It's not Aishwarya who's announced, it's Miss India. And for me, somewhere, going to that pageant was not about being a beauty queen or telling the world, do you think I'm beautiful? So here I am. It was about representing. And yes, it wasn't the most natural thing for me to do. If the idea is to do it like a fashion show, like fashion models would, then I did it with a sarong in the initial rounds. And in fact, on the stage that year, in the preliminaries, they do have all the 87 contestants with sarongs. And it's about girls possibly getting a career in the fashion world and in the modeling world internationally, where people are far more comfortable in their skin publicly. Then let's just do it like a fashion show, because it's not about really the girl with the best body, because then I wouldn't have won. There were girls with far more stunning bodies on, during my years. So yeah, it wasn't about the body for sure.
You couldn't totally control?
I believed I could control the course ahead, or I would like to definitely have a grip on it. I was actually quite determined about that. But did I get a sense that everything was going to change? Yes. Definitely from within, and everything around me convinced me as well. There was a lot of change. I was just a student the night before, and suddenly next day there I was representing my people internationally. That's what I was looking for when I participated in the pageant. But it was wonderful to see that that's exactly what it was turning out to be. It was that opportunity for me to become a kind of cultural ambassador for us Indians on the world platform. And it shocked me how ill-informed so many parts of the world were actually about current India. And I'm so blessed that I had the opportunity to dispel some very, from my perspective, unbelievable misconceptions about us.
What you were amazed people thought about India?
Basic things like the fact that I spoke English comfortably to begin with. And they'd be like, are you educated in India? And I'm like, yes. It's like, you speak English really well. And I'm like, well, we do learn English in India. You know, I mean, please, this is really simple. Yes, when I'm on the world platform, I do tend to speak with a little more of a pronounced accent. My English is plain and simple. I've studied in India, and that's it.
From Miss...
That was really you with the sword there, was
Yeah,
it?
yeah, evidently, yes.
Yes.
Very much. Loving every minute of it.
It must have been very different, actually. I mean, moving on, no headline underneath, to the point of becoming a star in a film and with your name being everywhere and so on. That.
So I wouldn't want to sound presumptuous, but very honest, I think thanks to the love of my people and the way they embraced me right from the first. So this was a new world, this was new turf. But since I chose to become an actor as a career choice, I was going to discontinue with my education, and I chose to become an actor. The movie I was filming, at that time we used to be making like a couple of movies at the same time. We'd be filming a couple of movies at the same time. So I really wouldn't know how to really number the first movie, whether to call it my third film or so. But it was a big one. It was an actor. Of course, I'm an actor.
But I thought you'd be more comfortable.
Compliments are welcome, and I'll know to graciously say thank you. But it depends what topic we're discussing.
You've been very, of course, beauty's not here to stay.
Obviously, I think I've had a very normal upbringing, and I've lived a very real life. So fortunately, I was very in touch with that obvious reality right at the beginning of my journey. You're going to get me to talk about something I haven't in any Western world, from Hollywood or European cinema, English cinema, from the industry. There was a lot of interest in me and the possibility of me working overseas. And I'd already declined a couple of scripts purely on the basis of not being comfortable with, with the very physical scenes and the kissing, because I'd never done that on screen, and I just wasn't very comfortable with the idea. And I was quite sure, even my audience was not very, very comfortable with me doing it on screen. I was actually quite convinced about it. Let me first do it in our cinema, in an Indian piece of cinema, and let me see if all my doubts are true. And they were. I did it once, that prominently in that movie, Dhoom, and it was so topical. And you'll be surprised. I mean, I actually got a couple of notices, legal notices, from some people in the country, turning around and saying, "You are iconic. You're an example to our girls. You have led your life in such an exemplary manner. They're not comfortable with you doing this on screen, so why did you?" And I was like, wow, I'm just an actor, doing my job. And here I am being asked to offer an explanation for a couple of seconds in a 2-3 hour piece of cinema. Public display is not that common in Indian culture. even our actors, it's very rare that actors look comfortable in our cinema on screen kissing. It almost looks like it's a planned moment, just to make much ado about a moment or to excite the audience. It's made into this separate entity from a scene. It's not very comfortable in our screenplay. Our songs are. What the kiss is in the Western movie is what our songs do. And that's where our audience experiences all the emotions that the Western audience does when their actors kiss. So that's a very comfortable space for us. But I don't think the kiss visually has been. It's getting there. I mean, now it's become very, very common. So I still think our audience is getting comfortable with it.
I'm sorry I'm a bit late. My flight was delayed. You're Jacques Clouseau, the Pink Panther detective. This is such a thrill.
Steve Martin there, of course.
Right.
Wasn't it? Yes. Films made with the rest of the world. What is your...
Wow. Difficult to pick a favorite simply because they're very obvious decisions that I made in terms of choices. There aren't that many. And they're each one done at a very, very different and specific phase of my career at the time. And I had my own reasons for making the choices. When you're working in the Indian film industry, we do not juicy in terms of box office prospects. And the Western one would. I would never dream of discarding my filmmakers and then take on a possibly more lucrative or... I've never dieted, never.
Never.
When it came to Troy, that was in fact the very first year that I went to the States. And within a couple of days of meeting with a couple of agencies, I hadn't even, I think, taken on an agent by then, when I was called in for a couple of readings and screen tests for 3 different films, Troy one amongst them. And there was a possibility of me being in that movie. There were a lot of explicit scenes for Helen. A lot of scenes, a lot of lovemaking scenes, leading a regular life together. Well, both his parents belong to the film industry. They're both actors and very, very, very well established. My father-in-law is iconic, legendary actually already, and you know he's much celebrated, and I could go on and on and on, and this interview will probably never end. What's incredible is that even though that is a fans have been brought up in a very, very, what to me is a very, very normal manner. And probably that's one of the roots of our connection, that we connected as people. We were friends of life that we lead, even though it's so much in the public eye.
How soon were you going to get rid of the extra weight you put on to have the baby and so on? I mean, it seemed to be something quite normal. You'd taken a little bit longer, you decided to take it easy. But what was the fuss about? Do you know?
That's pretty much my response. What's the fuss about? It's not something that I feel the need to even be discussing or giving so much attention to, because as you rightly put it, it's not, what's all the fuss about? It's normal, it was natural in my case. That was the natural turn that my body took. In terms of whether I gained weight or I had water retention or whatever else that goes with the space. I was comfortable, and that's why I have been who I have been. I stepped out in public when I could take time out from my baby, or would have done something about it. Everything is accessible today. We all know the incredible progress that science has made. So if you want to lose it overnight, it is possible. But that's not the choice that I was making, and I pretty much made that evident. And if I wasn't disturbed by it, if people were, well, I hope they enjoyed the drama, because I was busy leading a very real life with my baby. So many women come to me and say that, thank you. You've actually gone and given so much confidence to so many of us who always believe that, oh my God, this phase you need to hide away, you need to work on yourself, it works on people's self-esteem, and you have been confident. And I was like, I didn't even think this wasn't a mission. I wasn't like on some mission to prove a point, this way or that. I was just being real. At least now you know what I said at 18 is what I'm doing even today. Just living my normal real life, very much in the public eye, and doing what I love to do, and that is being an actor. God willing.
God willing.
Yeah. My association with the United Nations and I've been taken on as their International Goodwill Ambassador with UNAIDS, and it just happened in the last week of September, and well, I'm here and ready to work and do what needs to be done. Their vision is to getting it to zero, and when they say getting it to zero is to have no more babies born with HIV. So the area that UNAIDS believes can be controlled and an achievable target is to have the next generation free of HIV, who have not even come and got themselves tested out of the sheer fear of social taboo and ostracization. And that comes from the fact that I think they don't have enough people to talk to or people to talk to them, to educate them, to increase awareness. And that's where I believe I can step in and help give an impetus to it.
First time parents with a healthy child, at that moment of thankfulness is just the moment when you feel like reaching out more to people who have not been that fortunate and may have been born with some crippling disease.
What you say is very true, but the little truth here is that actually United Nations has been speaking to me over the past 10 years to come on board, and I was always interested in actually working in this area. But me being me, 10 years ago, there was so much going on in terms of my film work. I genuinely believed I didn't have the time to commit to the work in an honest way. And anything I take up in my life, I like to commit to completely. But I'd kept it at bay, saying probably at a later stage when I will genuinely be able to commit time. That happens to be now. Right now, I'm not working on film. But my story is I had the blessing of in the kind of...
More reality, less happy endings?
I wouldn't want to make any such pronouncements because Indian cinema, I believe, in the traditional sense, what you all identify as the typical Bollywood film, in terms of identifying the music and dance and celebration, will always be enjoyed by our audience for sure. And I'm glad to know that a lot of the Western audience as well quite enjoys that in our cinema. Because Indian as a people, we're a very festive community. We have a lot of celebration and festivals and festivities in our culture. And that reflects itself in the celebration of cinema in the typical Bollywood sense, as you all would define it. Actually, always did exist as well in Indian cinema. Of our cinema, we had that much more opportunity to exhibit our cinema and distribute our cinema, more pockets in terms of markets in the world opening up. And so it's a great time for Indian cinema because it's always been diverse. We have a lot going on creatively, but it's a very interesting time because the audience is diverse and the opportunity is tremendous.
Will it become freer, more liberal?
That's been a natural progression probably since 1920 till date, you know. There's always been change, and change is great. Change is the only constant. I mean, that's a known fact. So that's a given, but I would always say that's creativity. It'll go through its curve, and as an artist, I think that's great and very, very exciting. I think the more creative liberation, the more exciting it is for directors to bring to life their vision, and it's great for cinema. I'd love to. I mean, I think, like they say, once an actor, always an actor. And when you're not inspired and excited anymore, you will walk away. You enjoy it.
Yes, I love it.
It's pretty much the same thing for us as well. I mean, as actors, as creative people, you love doing what you do, and that's why you're here. I'm passionate about cinema. But, you know, the day I'm bored and if it doesn't excite me, I will not make the time.
In terms of the fact that you, at the moment, you want to go on making films. You don't want to stop.
On one level, probably it's the people of my industry and my audience who haven't even given me the opportunity to consider otherwise, because I've been interacting with my filmmakers. There's been talk in terms of scripts, and at regular intervals. So I haven't really felt a break in any way. I mean, apart from the fact that time's just flying with my baby, it's really pretty much like maternity leave, I guess, as one would on any other job. But it's not, I mean, I think much ado is made about a break and a comeback, and this all just makes for exciting talk and titles and headlines for announcing an article, but much ado is made about that.
Social work we've been talking about. All the best, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Our former
The expert, that's a bit, you're crediting me with a bit much, but I'm Indian and you're in my country, so welcome to you.
What do you think we should...
You want to do like just tikkas? Yeah, raita or a yogurt as well at the end. This for the meal, yeah? Great, thank you.
Terrific. Yes. What are your favourite things, basically?
Well, the trick questions. But when it comes to food, I love food. I'm comfortable with my foods. I've never dieted, never. Because I enjoy food. And the only thing that I'd probably work on is quantity, if I need to reduce and check the quantities over time. Because I know I would not be able to be consistent with that throughout my lifetime, so.
Glorious birth.
Even after that. No.
You didn't?
No. But I have lost weight actually just looking after my daughter. So far. I mean, but I'm really doing all the caretaking, so I think that keeps you very, very active. And just naturally, after a certain month, the weight just started dropping off. So well, thank you, I guess. I've been saying this for years in so many interviews that I think it's important to kind of incorporate. It's a lifestyle that you have to embrace, and you have to bring it into your routine. And that's where you can kind of just go with it. Like if and when I'm in the gym, I love it, but I'm not used to it. Maybe that's something I would like to do, just because it's healthy.
Last meal on earth. What would be the
I haven't thought about it this so strongly. I think it's just basic food cooked by my mother. Very, very basic. A fish or a chicken curry that my mum makes. I would love that. Like simple.
Dictator. And who was a dictator? Who has done more movies, you or your husband?
Oh wow. Maybe him.
Have you done 40?
I'm not sure. Yeah, over 40 movies. So I don't know if we've equaled or he's done a few more. I'm not quite sure. Not sure.
Oh really?